This is a project overview of the City of Seattle review of mortgage documents conducted by McDonnell Property Analytics. After a home loan has been originated, the initial lending institution often sells the ownership of that loan to another bank, who in turn sells it to another. The transfers of the title are recorded in the public land records. As this takes place, a chain of title is created, reflecting the history of the ownership from the first owner to the present one. In order to expedite the rapid transfers of loans during the housing boom, the financial institutions created their own organization around a tracking system called the Mortgage Electronic Registration System, or the MERS system. The MERS system was designed to track the changes in mortgage servicing rights and beneficial ownership interest in loans secured by residential real estate. The MERS system is not a legal system of record, nor a replacement for the public land records. Mortgage servicing rights and beneficial ownership interests are not transferred on the system, they are only tracked. MERS shareholders include Mortgage Bankers Association of America, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, American Land Title Association, and various mortgage companies, title insurers, and mortgage insurers. During the housing crisis, as banks rushed through procedures to foreclose on borrowers struggling to make their mortgage payments, they often failed to file the necessary recordings, employed robo-signers to execute false documents, and incorrectly used MERS as an intermediate entity, portraying it as having the right to assign beneficial interests of the mortgage from one institution to another. Who has the right to foreclose? This led to legal challenges across the country as many foreclosures were deemed without merit because the entity bringing the foreclosures did not have the legal authority to do so. The assignments in question were usually those that involved mortgage electronic registration systems. In 2012, the Washington State Supreme Court weighed in on the subject and found that MERS cannot be a lawful beneficiary on a promissory note because it is not the lawful holder of the note. Simply put, if MERS does not hold the note, it is not a lawful beneficiary. The City of Seattle Office of City Auditor commissioned a study to examine MERS-related residential real estate property assignments within the Seattle city limits to determine how discoverable is the true current owner of the mortgages and are the assignments of the mortgages valid and in accordance with Washington state law in light of the 2012 Washington State Supreme Court ruling that deems certain mortgage electronic registration systems practices to be invalid. McDonnell Property Analytics was commissioned by the City of Seattle to conduct a review and tasked to summarize findings and propose recommendations in a written report to the City Auditor and City Council that the City of Seattle could propose to King County or the Washington State Legislature, and to prepare and make a presentation of the report's findings and recommendations to City of Seattle policymakers as directed. McDonnell Property Analytics devised a Deed of Trust Act violations checklist tailored specifically to address the objectives of the City of Seattle review. Real Estate Services and Technology programmed the DTA checklist logic into an analytical model within its Registry Audit.us application. The built-in rules engine scored the documents programmatically using this decisioning criteria. The Washington State Supreme Court ruled that if MERS does not hold the note, which by MERS' own admission it never does, then MERS cannot act as a lawful beneficiary. In the mortgage documents review, therefore, McDonnell Property Analytics classified any assignment as void whenever MERS purported to assign a beneficial interest in the deed of trust. If MERS is not a lawful beneficiary, then it stands to reason that it cannot convey, transfer, or assign beneficial rights that it does not have. The baseline principle of our system of property regarding transfer of ownership is, no one can give that which he does not have. For the title to be in good legal standing, each prior transfer must have been properly assigned. Missing, forged, or invalid documents cause the chain of title to be considered clouded, invalid, or broken, and any subsequent transferee cannot become a true title holder. If the MERS assignment is void, this results in a broken chain of title affecting the legal standing of all trailing documents. How does this affect individuals? A broken chain of title often results in borrowers not being able to discover the proper entity to send their mortgage payments to, or with which bank they should try and negotiate a potential loan modification if they are having trouble making their mortgage payments. Unlawful foreclosures may result as individuals lose their homes to banking entities that pursue a foreclosure without the legal right to do so. This adversely affects neighborhood economies and leads to increased homelessness. Private investments, such as pension funds, are also affected when the value of their investments in securitized loan pools is greatly diminished. The examination conducted by McDonnell Property Analytics determined that there were no valid MERS-related assignment deed of trust mortgages in the audited files, and that most had their validity questioned many times over. Problems with examined documents. Assignment documents were executed by known robo-signers. Individuals signed for companies on both sides of repeated transactions. Sometimes MERS even purported to assign interest to itself. In many of these instances, notaries decided to cross out the penalty of perjury line. Although MERS has been deemed an unlawful beneficiary in Washington, it claimed various roles across all types of documents reviewed in the study. There are evident recurring patterns and practices of assignment, appointment, and reconveyance in the examined chain of title documents involving MERS. There was MERS information missing in the public records. Although index slots were available in the King County Public Record System, the Registry Audit.us software identified that the majority of MERS-related documents were not correctly indexed with the corresponding MERS information. Unless one inspects each recorded instrument image for a MERS-related reference, one would not be able to truly determine how many MERS-related assignments or overall instruments there are in the public records by using the publicly available indexed information. We found many examples of document images that contain MERS information, but MERS does not appear in the indexed entry information at all. MERS was often listed as the assigner in various places on the document and listed as the grantor on the cover page. However, MERS was not listed in the indexed information in the official public records. Potential fines. According to the Revised Code of Washington, RCW 40-1630, offering false instrument for filing or record, every person or entity who shall knowingly procure or offer any false or forged instrument to be filed, registered, or recorded in any public office, which instrument, if genuine, might be filed, registered, or recorded in such office under any law of this state or of the United States, is guilty of a Class C felony and shall be punished by imprisonment in a state correctional facility for not more than 5 years, or by a fine of not more than $5,000, or by both. In the few hundred files that were examined, there were potential fines upward of $4 million, and there are probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands of these occurrences within the state of Washington public records. Homeowners' recourse. In the Bain decision, the courts were also asked, does a homeowner possess a cause of action under Washington's Consumer Protection Act against mortgage electronic registration systems if MERS acts as an unlawful beneficiary under the terms of Washington's Deed of Trust Act? The short answer, the court found that a homeowner could maintain a claim against MERS for violation of Washington's Consumer Protection Act based on MERS acting as an unlawful beneficiary, but each homeowner would have to establish the elements based upon the facts of that homeowner's case. Court findings. Our forensic examination of the City of Seattle land records revealed widespread systemic patterns of practice that appear to violate numerous state and federal statutes and are, therefore, clearly against public policy. The report documents these findings and includes recommendations to address many of the issues. The following links are provided for additional reference information.